Yep, so it's Tuesday morning, Ezhou, Wuhan, China again, yeah hey. So I woke up this morning, I read the ABC News, and the government are giving a $95 million grant to zoos and aquariums to help get them through. So that made me feel really great. So now the animals in Australian zoos are getting better treatment than the Australians that are stuck in China, who have had a brass razoo, not even a brass razoo, and yeah, so I'm better off being a monkey in Dubbo Zoo than an Australian in China. So today I also read that the Australian government are considering imposing sanctions and boycotts on Chinese products. So the Chinese government come back and said, well, you want to do that, we'll do the same to you guys and impose the same rules and regulations in China. China can get their iron ore and their fish supplies and their beef industry and all their grain from other countries, you know. We're only a small percentage of what they actually do import, and if we lose their trade, that is going to absolutely cripple our economy. I don't know what the government's thinking doing things like that and trying to pull rank and tell them that unless they're more transparent about this virus outbreak, that they're going to impose all these rules and regulations. They're going to cripple our lobster industry, our beef industry, our grain industry, our tourism industry, and just so the government can think that they can pull that sort of stuff. I really don't understand where they're coming from and why they're trying to achieve such a ridiculous sort of motive. It's wrong. You know, China can go to South Africa and get all those same products, or Russia and get a majority of those products, not to mention, you know, numerous other parts of the world. Just so happens that they get them from Australia because we've been doing trade deals with them for so long, and it's rather convenient. But if they want to change and go shopping somewhere else, it won't bother the Chinese at all. If the Chinese government decide to tell the Chinese citizens that, sorry guys, you're not travelling to Australia anymore for tourism, well, that is going to absolutely devastate our tourism trade. And they've done it before to other countries, and for, you know, Morrison and Albanese to be partnering up and agreeing to these sorts of terms and boycotts and sanctions is absolutely detrimental to our whole society and our financial affairs in Australia. It will cripple our country. It will put us into a depression. All so they can save face because they took so long. Australia hasn't even really been touched by coronavirus yet. It got out of it very lucky, you know, and for them to be whinging and carrying on like that is unbelievable. Meanwhile, I'm still stuck here in China, and they haven't done anything for me. They're just making my life worse. The more shit they stir up with the government. I have no idea why our government would possibly want to even side with America throughout this ordeal, this virus problem. They absolutely mean nothing to us trade-wise. They do nothing for Australia, and as you can see, their president, he's really let their country down, and we want to back them up rather than China, our biggest trading partner. Wow, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. What's America ever done for Australia? Nothing that I can really recall that's significant. You know, if you kick a dog long enough, it eventually leaves, and that's probably going to be the problem here. You're going to insult them so much that they're just going to let us go, and we'll have to fend for ourselves, and that'll be that. There won't be any making up because they don't care, and they'll hold a grudge, and that's as simple as that. Our military in Australia is nothing but a fraction of the military here in China. We haven't got anything compared to what they've got, and you know, we want to annoy them and provoke them. Wow, crazy stuff. America's not going to come to our aid. They're in a depression. They're going to take years and years to get out of their issues. They're not going to be able to back us up. We really should think about who our friends are, who our real friends are, who our financial fucking friends are. Not who we think, you know, we should be backing up because of whatever fucking reason. We're part of the Asia Pacific region. We're not part of the Americas. And they're very close neighbours to us. They can get, like I said, they can get all their supplies, their farming, their agriculture, you know, their fishing, all those sort of industries that we rely on in Australia, they can get from other countries easily. Simple. All they're just going to do is make South Africa and Russia wealthier. That's all. Hey darling, you're looking the goods today. So can you imagine what these sanctions and embargoes are going to do to the big industries from Australia that are already in China, that have worked so hard to get to China and have access to such a huge population of 1.4 billion people and the profits they make? Can you imagine what that's going to do to the Australian economy if they throw them out of China? Imagine what it's going to do to our dairy industry that's only barely afloat in Australia. We make no profits at all. Most of the profits from our dairy industry come from overseas, countries like China that rely on, well, don't rely, but they love our dairy industry. But it's all accessible in other countries, you know, France, Africa. They've all got big dairy industries too that love the Chinese as customers. Our textile industry, our wool industry, our fishing industry, it's all supported by the Chinese government. For jeopardising all those industries that are supported by our Chinese trade for the simple fact of a few votes from the Australians, you know, for Scott Morrison. Yeah, it is. I just come down this little side alley, and it must be Pump City. There's all these like pumps everywhere. Pumps for dredging or whatever they are. Fan shops, welding shops. Yeah, they all seem to congregate in the same areas and they sell the same products. I don't know why they do that, but yeah, all these sump pumps everywhere. A few tools. Is that for a concrete mixer? Concrete mixer. I'm going to get strange looks walking down here with my camera. Yeah, so there you go. So Scott Morrison thinks, you know, putting all these trade sanctions in and trying to appease the Australian public and tell them how bad China is worth putting us into a recession and losing, you know, huge trade deals that we have just for the sake of a few votes to make himself look good. Well, the Australian people have really got to wake up and understand how important it is with our trade with China, and our trade to China doesn't really affect China very much because they can get their products wherever they want, and we're just lucky they buy them off us at the moment, and that's purely because of all the deals that they've done over the years. But they can quickly stop that. And as far as the tourism industry goes, well, it literally takes China 5 minutes to change the rules here. They don't need to go through politics. They don't need to jump through hoops in government and have meetings. And you know, the Americans actually help fund and donate funds to the laboratories in China. The Americans have actually put in an awful lot of money towards them, and like so in Australia, we have laboratories in Pine Gap that the Americans run, and they concentrate purely on our venomous snakes. Now, what are they doing with all those testing? What are they doing? It's surely not for snake bite venom. We've already got that sorted out. The Americans have a lot of laboratories over in other countries, purely for the fact because they can't do it in their own country. They support laboratories in other, you know, world nations where they're allowed to do secret testing and testing on animals that they don't have the availability of in America. But America never seemed to mention that. And so, yeah, you know, people have got to do their homework. People have got to really look at the big picture and ask the questions. Why does Australia back America? For what reason are we backing America? They're absolutely no benefit to us financially, yet they seem to benefit from us financially. So, you know, it's quite weird how it all works. So we've got to ask ourselves why the Americans actually help fund these laboratories in China and some of the testing that goes on here. We also got to ask the question why there's American laboratories at Pine Gap that do testing on our venomous animals in Australia. You know, there's something there that we all should know about, and they seem to keep that all under wraps from us all. And as soon as something goes wrong, they want to point the finger at China and blame China. Yet, if the world really knew who was funding a lot of these experiments, whatnot, that are going on, then I think we'd all be very surprised. Imagine what it would do to our mining sector if we put embargoes on that and sort of cut trade off with China. Imagine what that, you know, the effects that would have in the country areas that rely on mining. Imagine what the mining magnates would say and think about that. I doubt they're going to let that happen in a hurry. Scott Morrison is constantly trying to appease the sheeple in Australia, the people that are ignorant to the true facts and the big picture. He's trying to buy their votes regularly, constantly. He knows that you guys have no understanding of what's really going on. Yet that's how he treats you. So he's pretty well treating you like mushrooms, guys. And unless you wake up to yourselves, that's how it's going to be. So any day, well, another day draws to a close, and still haven't heard anything back from DFAT. Again, as usual, tell you they're going to do something, they never do. And another day closer to my deadline, and another day where I have no idea what the fuck's going on. So yeah, all think about it. Think about what the government's doing. You know, I'm sure we all enjoy our free schooling and you know, Centrelink, and Social Security, all those free benefits that we get in Australia that are all, you know, supplied by the federal government and the tax money that they earn from the corporates and the taxpayers, etc. Well, when we go into recession or a depression because we've lost all our biggest trading partners, and we all start having to pay for hospitals and schooling and all the other benefits that we get, we'll soon realise what's really going on, and see how happy you all are then. Not to mention the universities. Imagine all the money they're going to lose, and all the foreign students that come over and spend so much money, 3 or 4 times what we pay, the Australians pay. Imagine what's going to happen there. Our universities won't be free anymore, or subsidised. There'll be so many industries and things that we get subsidised with that are going to crumble. We're all going to be very, very much worse off, and it'll be thanks to ScoMo and his goons that are trying to organise this and put pressure on China because they want to suck up America's fucking asshole and be like them. Well, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, that's about all I got to say today, and yeah, I've had enough of it. I'm sick of it. No answer from anyone, and yeah, so I think I might enjoy my afternoon in China and hit the local park and, I don't know, do something or other. See ya.